Oil is a natural substance extracted from the geological formations in the underground, which may accumulate in it through a slow transformation process of organic materials that lasted for ages and relatively long periods. Oil is chemically defined as a complex mixture of hydrocarbons. It varies in appearance, color and composition greatly depending on where it is extracted. It is considered a natural raw material, and when it is extracted from below the surface of the earth it is also called crude oil. Crude oil is subsequently subjected to a refining process to obtain various types of petroleum products, i.e. technically, a retail distillation process is carried out that enables it to be separated into a group of mixtures, which are distinguished by the boiling point gradients in the distillation tower. These groups are usually called cuttings. Oil is classified as a fossil fuel, due to its formation under the deep layers of the earth from large quantities of extinct organisms, fossils, such as zooplankton and algae that were buried under sedimentary rocks and then decomposed in the absence of oxygen, high pressure and temperature below the surface of the earth. Oil is extracted from its underground reservoirs, which are called oil wells, by drilling the Earth's crust, after conducting a geological survey to test the porosity and permeability of the geological reservoir. With each passing year, we realize that oil plays an important seed in the global economy. Until the first commercial oil well was drilled in Romania in 1875, almost 2 years later, the petroleum industry in America was born in Titusville, Pennsylvania, where Edwin L. Drake is the owner of the idea of the first oil well in the world, by devising a method for drilling a practical oil well, where his job helped to connect the railways to connect to the idea of an oil well, and oil extraction from the ground was not possible before that, as they relied on the oil to naturally leak the land, so therefore this method was not producing large quantities of oil, so it was necessary to devise an idea to extract large quantities of oil from the ground, so Drake began to blow up the land using mines. Then, in 1901, the first well-produced well was drilled at the known site as Spindletop in southeast Texas, and its production was greater than all other oil-producing wells in the United States combined. Many would argue that the modern era of oil was born that day in 1901, as oil will replace coal as a major source of fuel in the world. This made it a highly sought-after commodity worldwide. But how is the price of oil determined? In fact, there are two main factors that influence the price of oil: supply and demand and market sentiment. The basic theory of supply and demand stipulates that the more the product is produced, the cheaper it is. The greater the demand or the lower the supply, the price must rise, and with the decrease in demand or the increase in supply, the price must fall. In addition to that, there is the futures market for oil, which is oil futures contracts in which a binding agreement gives one the right to purchase oil at a predetermined price and date in the future. Under this contract, both the seller and the buyer are obligated. The other main factor that determines oil prices is the feeling that the mere belief that oil demand will rise a lot at some point in the future can lead to a significant increase in oil prices at the present time, and vice versa, which means that prices can sometimes depend on other criteria other than market psychology. In addition to the presence of market forces that influence oil prices, such as OPEC regulators, which are the largest influencer in oil prices, they control 40% of the world's oil supplies, and although the organization's charter does not provide for this, the organization was established to determine oil and gas prices. By restricting production, it can force prices to rise. Regardless of how the price is determined, at the end of the day, based on the use of oil for fuel and consumer goods, it appears that demand for oil will remain high in the foreseeable future.